Okay, so I am going to try to bake a cake. This is try 2, and I'm not going to torture you all by showing you what I did the first time to end up with this thing. Mind you, this doesn't taste all that bad. It just doesn't qualify as a cake to me. Well, it's kind of a fruitcake type thing, but wasn't what I was aiming for. So I'm going to try again. Now I'm going to use this pot. I'm not cooking anything in this or anything. I'm going to use this pot because the bowl I ordered a while back has not shown up yet. Now, the cast iron skillet I ordered earlier this week showed up today on a Sunday. God bless. And so, got the cast iron skillet. I've just got to get it a little bit seasoned now. But I'm going to use this as my bowl. So, let's get started. Start with a base of 3 eggs. Now, so beat the eggs. Actually, as a guy, I don't think it's PC for me to beat anything anymore. So we're going to either, I won't say whip either, because that can get me in trouble too. How about we say mix the eggs? I'm going to mix the eggs. So, now we add a cup of sugar. You know, I don't know who got the brains in my family, but clearly it was not me. Morton sugar. No. Well, I am supposed to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, so let's get measuring things out. Smallest goes down to 1/4, so let's take about half of that. There's my 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm not pouring that back in. Crud. Okay, now let's try that again. Sugar. Okay, I am supposed to mix in this cup of sugar slowly into the eggs. The recipe says to mix until you get a lemon color, which I don't know what color that the author thinks eggs are normally, but they're pretty much there already. It does mix to more of a tacky, it feels like the kind of lemon you see in lemon meringue, more than kind of just straight egg. Next, add sifted dried ingredients. Okay. 2 tablespoons, or 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 2 tablespoons of water. A half teaspoon of vanilla. A 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract. Mix well. Alright, we can do that. Let's be a little bit stubborn about mixing. Let's go get one of my other new toys. One of these fancy electrical mixer thingies. See how well it works. If it ain't mixed now, it ain't ever gonna be. You know, I realize that when it says add sifted dry ingredients, it probably means the flour too, but this is an important ingredient in your recipe. You ought to say in the recipe, add flour. One of the reasons the last one got screwed up. Okay, so let's add that. Okay. Let's add that 1 3/4 cups of flour now. Ah, the joys of baking. Let's get that mixer back out. Fun playing with the new toys. It's like getting an electric drill or something. Okay, now we put it into the 2 cake molds, cake pans, whatever you want to call them. Thingamajiggy bobs, which swear they're non-stick. Another possible recipe faux pas here. I think I may have dishes that are cake pans that are too wide for this. They really should have said such and such size cake pan. Okay, so now the batter is spread out evenly in the pans. Hopefully that'll work. Unless they rise quite a bit, I'm not sure how well it will, but we'll see. Okay, now I'm supposed to put a 1/4 cup of walnuts, half a 1/4 cup of walnuts on top of each, and a 1/4 cup and a 1/3 cup of pitted Bing cherries on top. Actually, I think I'm supposed to put the cherries on first, so let's do the cherries first. This should be interesting. I'm not sure how much those cherries will bake in, but you know, it's basically vanilla cake with something on top of it. The cherries that I had bought some frozen full cherries and all that to use. Unfortunately, in the first attempt when I made the Frisbee cake, that got used up. So now we're using the dehydrated ones I have, and we'll see. Maybe, for all I know, it'll suck all the liquid out of the cakes, and they won't bake right. Or we'll just end up with cakes with a bunch of, you know, dehydrated cherries and nuts on top of them. We'll see. So, next thing we do is 350 degrees in the oven. Ta-da! The oven is on. Let us put them in there God willing, they will bake and bake properly. This is supposed to take a half an hour. I'd probably give it more like 35 since I just started the oven from zero. And then we'll be back to see what we see. So I'm back. I tell you, it smells good. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, first let's turn off the oven so that I don't have to do that and burn down the house later. Oh yeah, that's a lot better than what I got before. It actually rose. Now the nuts didn't break in, but the cherries seem to have. Let's see what we can do with this now. You know, I remember Mom and I think Grandma had these cake pans where they had a little handle on them, and you went shh, and it just cut the cake out, right? I didn't even look to see if those things still exist. Wish they did. Hope they do. I may have to buy some. It's going to be interesting to see if I can get them out of these things. If anything, it looks a little overdone. I may have left it in a little bit too long. Probably 25 minutes would have been more appropriate. Well, it was worth a try. Dang it. That's what I get for not buying parchment paper to put in, or not buying the type of pans I talked about before. Let's see if we can pry this out without breaking it apart. It worked. Yeah, this is definitely overcooked. The dehydrated cherries are not working well. The one I just tasted was clearly burnt. So, I'm going to go ahead and go on with step 5, 6, whatever step we're on, and put some Miracle Whip on these things. But they needed about 5 minutes at least less in the oven. And really, the dehydrated cherries were a fail. I should have at least hydrated them. You know, put them in a cup with some water to get that all done. Or gone back and bought more hydrated cherries. We'll see next week when I try next time. Alright, let's put the other one on top of it. Oh, that's baked hard. Okay, that's the finished product. Here, actually, let me bring it up close so you can see the finished product. This is, without even tasting it, I know this is a fail, right? Don't anybody get too fired up about it. Overbaked. Shouldn't have used dehydrated cherries. Apparently I cannot spread Cool Whip well. Okay, I'm tempted to take this to work and to you know, take it to people I don't like, and you give them a slice so that they have to pretend that it's good, you know. Wow, that's awesome. Is he gone yet? Can I spit it out? That sort of thing. Except, of course, the paralegal who works for me would probably taste it, and she has this tendency to be honest, and that could be a bad thing. And with this, it would definitely be a bad thing. So I'm going to test it so you don't have to, so nobody else out there has to. Wow, look at that crusting breaking down. Will say, I think that maybe I should have put the whipped cream on if it had some time to cool. That's all I'm willing to take as a test, because, you know, I value my life. Cooked too long. The cake inside is actually okay, but the outside was too hard. The dried cherries are definitely a mistake. Shan't be imposing this upon anybody. Okay, so this is a fail. And I didn't show you the first fail because it was a catastrophe fail. I just showed you this one. This one is a fail which is fixable with, and there it goes. I just want that cat to let me hold it long enough one time to say, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." You know, but she's not having it. Now she's bumping my legs again. It was a fail this time. Fixable. I think part of it is adjusting for how my stove works. I think it said 30 minutes in the recipe, and since I started it without preheating the oven, I let it go to 32, 33. I'm thinking with my stove, probably need to crank that back to like 25, or put the stove at maybe like somewhere around 335, 340 is best I can put it there. Or actually, yeah, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit lower. The use of the dried cherries on it was an absolute fail. In the original attempt, the first attempt that made the frisbee, the frisbee cake, I did use actual store-bought frozen cherries, pitted and all that, scrambled them up and threw them in. But there were a lot of other errors in that one, so that didn't work. And by the time I got done with that failure and decided to try again, I had my backup pitted cherries, which were the dehydrated ones, and that was a failure. They just, I guess you need the juice so it can sink in and all that, and so it doesn't burn. They taste, you know, the dried cherry tasted burnt. You know, they just weren't good. Now, the cake itself, you know, once you got past the fact it was a little bit overcooked, it was like angel cake, right? You know, people purposely overcook angel cake just a little bit so they've got something that has taste to it. Hey, cat, stop that. The cat can't get my attention. It's trying to get yours. And you have that little bit, you brown it a little bit more than you would another cake. It was kind of what this was like, right? So it wasn't, the cake wasn't terrible. It was just basically vanilla cake. Putting the whipped cream on it, I did that too soon, obviously, because it started turning to liquid pretty much as quickly as I did it. So, you know, we have to let them sit a little bit and then do it again. So next week, when I try again, less time in the oven, or maybe a little bit less temperature in the oven, if I do it with cherries again, real cherries, not dehydrated ones, and you know, wait a bit before I put the whipped cream on it, and it should be good. God willing, you know. But, so you've seen my failures, you've seen my successes. I think now I've succeeded at bread, failed at geta, succeeded at geta, failed at baking a cake, which you didn't see, and then failed at baking a cake again. So basically 2 successes out of 5. Not a great record, but we'll get there, folks. Until next time, ma salama, y'all. Daggone it, cat. I feed you every day, at least once, sometimes twice. You'd think you were starving to death.